Hey guys, it's been a while since I made a video. Um, I don't even remember when the last time I made a video was. Today is March 25th, 2026. Recording this in the afternoon on a Wednesday before going to Bible study later actually. I don't even know how long my hair was the last time I made this video. Made a video that might give away that it's been a little too long. One of the things that because I mentioned before, I have little kind of note of all the ideas I want to do videos on eventually at some point. And one of the ones I wrote down recently that I have also been kind of dealing with lately in my own life is, what are you kind of exposing yourself to? What are you spending your time on? What are you doing this X amount of hours, blah, 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 in a week or whatever. And I think it might sound very simple, but honestly, I found that most people who I know specifically that are, around my age and are religious, Christian and whatnot, typically don't care, as long as it's not something that goes way overboard or something, they don't care. And it's like it's a bit more serious than that, I believe, is kind of the point I want to make. Is it's a bit more serious than a lot of people make it out to be. There's so many different things that I could say. The main thing for me in my life that I got rid of, that I was kind of letting myself look at or exposed to or whatever, was media, social media, shows, movies, video games, whatever, something like that. Or it's just become more and more and more of a trend to just hypersexualize women in any chance that any company gets, because they know it'll make more money. So I stopped looking at a bunch of different things, shows, games, media, a bunch of different stuff, because I just got tired of it. I realized it's a lot easier not to, well, I'll say this, it's, in my experience, having, lustful thoughts or something like that happens a lot less often when you're not exposing yourself to that stuff so much. And I also feel like it's a bit easier to deal with that stuff when it comes along, when you start looking at that stuff less. Stuff like violence in video games. I know that one's a bit tricky to talk about, I guess, video games and shows and movies, because it's like, yeah, there's violence and stuff. Sometimes it's justified, sometimes it's not. So it's hard to say. But if you're playing games or watching movies where there's just way too much violence and also in a way where it's objectively morally wrong kind of violence, popular games today, one of the few reasons I don't play stuff like GTA, what else, Call of Duty. I don't know about shows. To be fair, I don't watch shows all that much in the first place anyway, so yeah, just for Call of Duty, it's just like repetitive violence, where it's just like, for me, it wasn't like, oh, this is so violent, I gotta put it down. It was just boring, repetitive violence, kind of, I guess. It was just boring. But one of the things I said earlier was, it most definitely depends on how much your time you're spending on stuff, regardless of how bad it is. It doesn't have to be the worst of the worst that you're just getting rid of. It could be stuff that's not bad or whatever. It still matters how much time you're spending on it. You know, one of the things I had to start implementing was days off from video games, because I think in like late October, somewhere around there, I kind of took a complete break from games for about 3 or 4 months or something like that. You know, about a month or so ago, I started playing games with a friend group who wanted to start playing games again. And I could tell over time, over the past month and a half or whatever, that I was starting to become emotionally invested in it again. I started to become addicted to it again. So I just realized, you know, I had to make some sort of change to my schedule. So I, at first, made it so I couldn't play games on Tuesdays and Thursdays anymore, or do anything with friends, actually. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, I would just, you know, after work, go to the gym, come back, shower, eat, and then just read the Word for a while. Maybe watch a little bit of YouTube here and there, but read the Word for a little while. Actually go to bed at a decent time. I did that for a couple weeks, and then this week I've upped it to more. To now I'm going to start doing. I don't play games or do any of that stuff on Mondays, Wednesdays, or Fridays. And I've definitely realized after I started implementing this stuff, dealing with whatever sort of bad, you know, sinful stuff, thoughts, emotions, you know, whatever, is a lot easier to deal with when you're not spending so much time away from God, reading the Word, you know, whatever. It doesn't have to just be, you know, what I started the video off with was like the most obvious evil stuff. It doesn't have to be that. It could be anything. What you're spending your time on matters and will shape what you perceive about reality. You know, it's really sad that most people probably wouldn't admit that they are influenced in some way, shape, or form by social media when they are. It could be something very small, but it's still there. That's why I don't have social media anymore other than YouTube, obviously. I deleted everything else. It's just all garbage. What you spend your time on influences you. Like I said, social media, whatever movies or shows you're watching, games you're playing, whatever. Spend more time with God will give you a lot more peace than you have right now, or than you think you can have. Things are a lot more simpler when you start to give up all this random crap you're spending your time on. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, give up all your hobbies, give up all your things, time with friends, blah, blah, blah. But it's definitely different when you realize you don't spend any time with God unless it's Sunday morning. If that's the only time you spend with God, there's a problem. You know, Jesus didn't die on a cross just so you can come in on Sunday for an hour and say, praise be, and then leave, and then go back to being, you know, whatever you are during the week. So it's just important to remember that, obviously, yes, I know it's preached a lot to spend time with God throughout the week, not just on Sundays, but also what I'm saying in this video is, where are you spending your time on during the week? I'm not saying you have to give up everything and spend only time with God during the week, 24/7, but I've just realized, as it's been very helpful in my own life, to start making changes in the benefits and rewards I've already seen so far from implementing this kind of stuff. Is I just kind of wanted to share that, some encouragement from that. I think I've said it already, but one thing I want to say in this video is I definitely want to make this channel something that's not, I'm not a teacher. I'm not going to teach exactly what a scripture means and how to interpret it. I'm not going to do that. I don't feel qualified as a teacher or whatever you want to call it to do something like that. I'm just making videos for encouragement, or sometimes to call things out that are obviously not right. But yeah, one of the things obviously for this day today was calling out, what are you actually spending your time on, and giving encouragement, in my own experience on some of the benefits you can have from changing your time, what you're spending your time on. Most days of the week, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, I go to the gym after work, work out, play basketball, whatever, come back, shower, eat, or go get something to eat, come back, read. If it's Tuesday or Thursday now, starting this week, I read for a little while. Then I will at some point, play some games with friends. But if it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I don't do anything like that. On Saturdays, I don't really do much in the morning, but I usually every Saturday now I've made some, I don't know why I started doing this, but I've made it a routine to go to Starbucks around, usually I go over there around lunchtime or something, and I take my Bible with me and I go sit down and read for a while in there. And after that, I usually go get something for lunch on the way home. Sometimes I'll exercise on the weekends, but I'm trying to, I think I've mentioned before many times that I have kind of problems in my left leg, joints and stuff. They have been getting better, but I still don't really want to try and overdo it to where I'm working out or running 6 days a week or something like that. So I don't always work out or do some sort of cardio on weekends. But usually on Saturdays, do that, go see family for a little bit in the afternoon usually. Usually I'd go out for dinner or something. If I didn't go out for lunch, sometimes I don't, sometimes I do, whatever, doesn't matter. I'm just saying, even on weekends, on Saturdays, I'm trying to find some time, to read the word, whatever, whenever I'm in my car on the way to the gym or wherever, I guess I have it on Christian radio, where I'm listening to people talk about stuff, all different sorts of things. Not much music on there, surprisingly, but it's just people talking about Christian stuff. Sometimes there's just straight up sermons on there, Anytime and every time you can use can be beneficial. Like listening to the radio on the way to, could be for you on the way to work or on the way home. It's maybe making a routine for your weekends, making a routine out of anything, whatever you got going on, whatever your hours are at work. I know it's not easy if you have like kid or multiple kids, to find time to do all this. But if you work like a 9 to 5, come back, shower, go to the gym, whatever you do, eat, have time with kids. One of the things I've found that definitely helps is definitely reading some throughout the day as well, not just at nighttime. During my break, I read a little bit, or sometimes if I have a little downtime at work, I read a little bit. The first thing I do when I grab my phone is load up the Bible app and go to the next chapter of Psalms. Just reading throughout the day, not just at night. Even if it's just a small amount here and there, it matters. Excuse me. But back to what I was saying at first, in the first point of this video. Please do not be one of the people who just look past what they are engaging in, looking at, participating in. I'm not going to say who exactly it is, obviously, but I've had several Christian friends tell me, it's okay if this is wrong or bad, because every kind of this certain thing is wrong or bad, and I have to want to, watch this stuff because it's entertaining, or participate in this because it's entertaining. It's like, it's the same exact sort of reasoning as because X, Y, and Z number of people jumped off a cliff, you do it too, And it's like, some of you watching this will say, well, obviously, but I've just been surprised the amount of people I've seen that I know personally actually believe or say something like that. So I just know that it can be easy to not care or really realize what it is you're investing your time in, and that could be hurting you. Hope you all have a good day. Today is March 25th, Wednesday. Hope you all have a good rest of the week.